I'm just going to share some footage of walking around the Pride Parade in Toronto on Yonge Street and also a bit near Church and Wellesley. For the final Sunday in June, Toronto does a pretty big thing for Pride, obviously. It's a big deal here. And this is like a famously gay part of the city as well. Like historically, this is like the gay neighborhood. I did see, although I didn't record it, the city mayor Olivia Chow dancing on a float near the beginning of the parade. I found a brief recording of that on her Instagram, though she didn't stay up there for the whole time. Chow has been involved in city politics for a long time. She used to be on the city council, then she was an MP for a Toronto riding, now she's the city mayor. Everyone in Toronto knows her, she's great. And since I'm mentioning her and I don't mention her very often, I won't have many other excuses to throw this into a video. Here's some wonderful pictures of her and some random little girl who dressed up like her for some reason. The number one problem with Pride is actually that it's too fucking loud. Oh my god, this is like the fireworks video. I'm actually Queen Buzzkill. But I'm not demanding peace and quiet, I'm just saying, like, the loudspeakers they play music off, those are legit damaging everyone's ears. I look around, like, do none of you people even care? Like, do every single one of these people have earplugs in? If they do, then why is the music so loud? Like, what's the point? What's the point of turning it up so loud that all of us have to have earplugs in to compensate? Like, at this point, why don't we all take our earplugs out and then turn the music down, right? Like, it would have the same effect. But no, I'm pretty sure a lot of these people don't have earplugs. They're really just fucking their hearing for no reason. I'm out here covering my ears every time one of those super loud trucks rolls by me, and I shouldn't be the only one. I heard a bunch of people say there was less funding this year. Maybe some companies that usually throw money for a float and a booth or whatever decided not to bother. But I don't think that would affect overall attendance, like normal people showing up. Here's a video that I took last year. It does look a lot fuller, and I think that some people are like connecting those two things, like, oh, it's smaller because there's less funding. But yeah, I don't know why funding would affect how many people show up. I was further south in the city for this shot, so it might be that it's more packed the further south you go, but I don't think that's the only difference, because I feel like I remember it being super crowded even when you walked north on Yonge. Like, going up and down Yonge Street that day, there was like no room. There was no path where nobody was already standing. Like, the streets were legit full. I think it's the most people per area that I've ever walked through. I would guess a big part of it is the weather. It wasn't too hot this year. There was a nasty heat wave across Ontario just like a week prior, but it cleared up by the weekend and it came down to like 20-something. It was reasonable, but it was hotter than it was last year, and I know that how bad the heat feels when I walk out my front door affects how enthusiastic I am about going anywhere. Do you think that if we graphed out the overall attendance versus the temperature over 20 years, that there would be like a correlation with the temperature where when it's nicer, more people show up? You might not be able to observe that because the attendance was just going up every year over time anyway as like Pride became more acceptable, so yeah, I don't know. But one year to the next, if it's way nicer out, more people might show up, so it could just be that. I remember it being like a godsend Friday last year. I was out for the, I think they call it the Trans March. Not really a parade, but like we all walk through the city together. Not exactly a march either, like when you're walking is synchronized. The word march makes me think of like a marching band or army guys. Is there a term for like when you're all together but it's not so strict? We did a bit of a stroll through the city. We did a wide group stroll through the streets. We did a promenade. Whatever you call it, the point is it was beautiful out because it was like 17 or 18 or something. Like, it was unexpectedly really fucking cool for the middle of summer. I've never been to a concert, but the way that I understand the appeal of concerts is through going to events like this. There really is some kind of energy that you absorb from being around so many people all at once. I feel like the parade itself isn't really even that interesting. Like, do I need to see people on a truck driving slowly with music? The event is organized around the parade, but it's not really about the parade. Like, would you go to see this parade if there was literally no other person and it was just you in the street watching the parade? I feel like that would be lame. It's kind of like hanging out with your friends to watch an old movie or something. It's not really about the movie, it's more about the hanging out with your friends. The movie is just an excuse to do that, or like the thing that you can look at if you ever have nothing else to do. It gives us a social lubricant so that nobody is ever fully bored, just sitting there looking into space. It's like, oh, you have nothing to say? Just look at the fucking movie. Here it is. It's like a little distraction that we can share in. I think the point of Pride is being surrounded by people, and people who, at least to some degree, share in your purpose and your feelings about this topic that is something dear to us. It really does just make me fucking happy to walk around in these crowds and see how gay everybody is. I've heard that the Nazis, and yeah, this is a weird place to bring up Nazis, but whatever. I've heard that the Nazis, part of what they did that really resonated with people was organizing those huge rallies. We have few surviving photographs of them, but from what we can tell, they were like crazy massive. And these people had probably never been in such a big crowd before. And that becomes an experience. It unlocks this like weird collective group fuzzy feeling of being in a mass of people that you feel united with, sort of. And if you've never experienced that, like if you're like kind of antisocial, or if you have like anxiety or sensory overload or any kind of issue where you just don't enjoy being in large crowded spaces, there is a kind of euphoria that you're just kind of missing out on, which sucks, but I mean, it's what everyone else is there for. Why else would humans bother organizing stuff like this? Like, why else would you go to a Taylor Swift concert? It's not just to listen to Taylor Swift, you could do that at home. And that's also probably really useful for like an authoritarian nationalist movement like the Nazis, or, you know, any other movements that hold a lot of rallies. Last year, I remember there was a huge presence of people with Palestine flags, Palestine pins and buttons and stickers. There were people handing them out on every corner, so like after a couple hours you looked around, you saw this flag everywhere. In a weird way that's kind of normal for Pride though, queers are naturally political and there's always other causes that end up being represented here. For a while there, it was stuff about black people. Every single Pride there was like Black Lives Matter stuff all over the place. To my dismay, last year a bunch of the Palestine people actually stopped the parade. I think the BLM people did this too back in, oh my god, wait, that was 2016? Oh man, I thought it was more recently. Like, I thought it was after the George Floyd shit or whatever. No, I guess that was a while ago. Okay, whatever. It was near the end of the parade, but still, that's really fucking lame for the people who are in the parade who didn't get to do the whole thing. And it's like, okay, girl, why are you punishing us? Like, why is this our fault? Not that we don't care, but this is a bunch of gays in Canada. Why are you ruining our parade because there are people getting oppressed on the other side of the world? Does everything need to be about everything else? I think the police would have removed them if Pride organizers wanted them to, but they were there and they were just like, nah, whatever, just let them sit there. So I guess it's our own fault? I mean, I guess whatever queer was in charge just decided that police having to use force against somebody who just doesn't really like genocide maybe wasn't a good look for the organization, so they just let it happen. Not this year, though. Not that the police had to remove them, but that it didn't happen. Everything went through fine, nobody tried to shut down the parade, and in general, the Palestine stuff, though it was present still, was more muted. It wasn't everywhere like it was previously. And I guess it kind of makes sense that it was shining especially bright in 2014, because that was the first Pride after October 7th forced everybody to start caring about Israel-Palestine again. Or hang on, let me word that a little less cynically. It was the first Pride since the start of the Israeli incursion into Gaza for the purpose of executing their war against Hamas and or their genocide of Palestinians, depending on how you view the issue. I'm not trying to make a point here for either side. I'm trying to avoid getting into it, okay? Because I shouldn't have to have an opinion about Israel-Palestine to be at Pride. But it is, yeah, it is interesting the way that people's attention for these things kind of ebbs and flows. And when I say interesting, I don't mean it's bad. I mean, it just kind of makes sense, right? It's very normal. Okay, that's all. Bye-bye. Look, it's already pretty cleaned up. They just go through, they pick up all the, like, little whatever railing things, and then they have these like 5 cleaner trucks that just roll through and suck everything up.